Welcome to the Attractions Group podcast. This is episode 108. I'm Ryan Sir, along with Don Helbig. Don, how you feeling today?
Doing okay based on, the situation. Some might be aware, but I suffered a stroke that went to my eye, some vision issues now with the left eye. But, you know, just going to make the best of the way things have turned out. And looking forward to this episode.
No spoilers, Don, because we talk a little bit more about what happened and the whole story on the next episode of Tower Topics about the Golden Ticket Award. So, zip. All right. Before
All
we get
right.
started, you can find us on all your favorite podcast apps: Apple, Google, Spotify. You know the drill. We do a video version on YouTube, so hit that subscribe button on there, and follow us on X at attractions_GRP. So, special guest, Don. Bring her on.
Well, Ryan, as you know, and a lot of our listeners know, millions of people visit Dollywood in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, every year, making the ultimate guide to Dollywood a must-have for fans of the beloved theme park. And to talk about the book, we welcome the author, Erin Browne. Erin, how you doing?
Hi, I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me tonight.
Yeah, well, we're thrilled to have you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. So you share in a lot of the same passion that we do for different theme parks, and obviously Dollywood is, up in the top of the list for a lot of people as far as favorite parks and favorite experiences and family memories. But your book offers an in-depth look into its thrill rides, attractions, renowned eateries, and other things that make Dollywood a magical place. Can you tell us about what inspired you to write this Dollywood book?
Sure. This is my second Dollywood book. My first book is called The Unofficial Dollywood Cookbook, and it was released in April of last year. And it's a cookbook full of copycat recipes that mimic all the iconic favorite dishes that you can find in the park. But that's what I do. I'm a recipe developer, I'm a food blogger, and I have quite a bit of Dollywood just travel content on my blog. And that's what initially led into writing these books. But after the cookbook was published, it became apparent that there's not really a traditionally published guidebook about Dollywood, and I thought that could be something that would be really useful. You can get all kinds of information online through searching for different things and visiting different websites, but this book kind of takes all of those bits of info and just puts it all into one place.
Well, the book is 240 pages. So, what's the best way to use the book so that's the most useful for someone that's planning a visit to Dollywood, whether it's their first time or they've been there several times, like Ryan and myself?
The book is organized in a way that makes it really easily digestible. It's arranged as a collection of entries, each one highlighting a single attraction, and they're ordered how they're actually situated in the park. So when you enter the park and you're standing on Show Street, you've got the Show Street Palace Theater ahead of you, and then the bakery and the ice cream shop, and so on. And so it's meant to kind of follow along the route that someone would typically take as they're going through the park. And so it's easy for someone just to take a map of Dollywood and see these things that are available to do, and then look up the corresponding entry in the book, and then learn more about it and decide if that's something that they'd like to work into their day.
Dollywood has such a rich history. Uh, so, what are some of the things that you learned while researching the book, and what are some of the fun facts that you found out about Dollywood's history? Because it's so storied. Dollywood's only been around for 40 years or so, but the park has been there much longer than that.
I really wanted to dig deep and kind of give some fun little tips and trivia that Dolly lovers would love to hear about. I was on a pretty tight deadline with this project. I started writing it just a few months after my cookbook was released, and the bulk of the manuscript I had to have finished in, I think it was around 3 months or so. Um, but as the 2023 season was coming to a close, it was apparent that some very big changes were going to be happening to Dollywood. So one of those things was that they transformed the adventures into imagination into the Dolly Parton experience. And so things were kind of put on hold for a while so that I could get kind of a handle on what was going on and what was changing, so that when the book comes out, it's as up to date as possible. And that was still a challenge because, especially the last 5 or so years, it seems like Dolly is always adding something new or changing something or updating something. but yeah, it was a lot of fun trying to find out those little facts and tidbits.
So, for the book, who was the target audience?
So I wrote the book to appeal to as wide a range of people as possible. So there are those who are the theme park enthusiast in general, those who specifically love Dolly and Dollywood and the Smoky Mountain area, and those who are interested in travel and seeing new things. So it appeals to a wide range of people. And I know now there are roller coaster enthusiasts out there that get like really into the engineering details of all of those rides. And so now Dollywood has attracted the attention of some of them now that they've got a pretty serious collection of roller coasters. So I tried to include a little bit of those details as well to hopefully make those folks happy.
So we're going to go into this assuming you're the Dollywood expert, since you literally wrote the book on it.
Mhm.
What is the one must-do attraction every time you visit Dollywood?
So mine is probably pretty tame, but we always have to ride the Rockin' Roadway in Jukebox Junction, which it's an area of the park that's themed like 1950s Sevierville, and it's totally fun over there. But Rockin' Roadway is like a slow two-person track ride. You sit in these miniature versions of classic cars, and they're moving along this little self-driving track. And there's oldies rock and roll playing in the background. So no matter how long the line is for this ride, we will stand in it to be able to get on it during every Dollywood trip with our two kids. I have a son and a daughter. They're 9 and 7 years old. And that ride is totally family friendly. There's no height requirement. It's super gentle. And we've been taking them on it since they were teeny tiny. And now we kind of have this tradition going where we take selfie videos of us every time that we ride it. And so we have kind of this collection of videos as our kids have grown up from basically sitting on our laps on the ride to now being tall enough to sit in the driver's seat themselves. So yeah, that's our must do every trip.
It's a must do for me too, but the number one attraction for me is the Dollywood Express. I consider it the best steam train ride in the entire industry. So I'd love to hear how you covered it in your book, and what do you think makes this ride so special for people like me and so many others?
Yeah, the Dollywood Express, it is such an iconic piece of Dollywood history and American history. So the Dollywood Express is a train ride. They utilize rotating 110 coal-fired steam engines. They're from World War II. Their names are Klondike Katie and Cinderella. And you, while the train is parked in the station, you can kind of skirt over there and get up next to it, and you can read which one you're going to get to ride on. But they were built in the late 1930s into the early 1940s. They were used during the war in Alaska for transporting soldiers and supplies. And now they've been at Dollywood since before Dollywood was Dollywood. Back in 1961, it was just a tiny little park, and it was called Rebel Railroad. And those engines that were used to take guests on rides through the foothills are the same ones that are still being used today. So everyone has to ride the train at least once, I think. And I think it's especially important to ride it during your first time at Dollywood because it really gives you a sense of the whole park and the natural area that surrounds it. It's such a beautiful area where Dollywood sits. The train runs hourly. I suggest lining up early because the crowds do pack up over there. And so you can have your pick of where to sit. There's no height requirement. There's no need for restraints or of any kind, so anyone can hop on. The ride itself is about 20 minutes long. It's very gentle. You hear and feel that engine. They blow the whistle. There's coal smoke coming out of the top everywhere, and yeah, it just screams Dollywood. That train is Dollywood.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on board with both you and Don as far as the Dollywood Express being kind of the icon of the park, if not Dolly, of course. But as far as like physical things in the park, it's definitely up there. But let's get back to your book. So you mentioned you have stuff in there for like coaster enthusiasts and stuff, but let's look at the two like polarizations.
Mhm.
So how did you write the book in a manner that attracts both people that have never been there and are looking for information, and big Dollywood fans that are also looking for more like further in depth information? Like, what did you have in mind as far as that was concerned?
Yeah, so I tried to include something for people who fall on both sides of that spectrum. I've been getting some feedback from some early readers, and one person said that she knew about Dollywood, but she hasn't had a chance to visit the Smoky Mountains yet and actually go there. But she didn't know much about what was actually in the park beyond like the little bits and pieces that you pick up from what's on TV or in the news. But she said that being able to sit down with the book and kind of play armchair tourist and kind of virtually walk through the park gave her a better sense of what it's like to spend a day there. And so now she's kind of encouraged to get that first trip on the books. So that's great. So I think that definitely there's going to be something there for people who have never been there and have only known about it just knowing that, yeah, Dolly Parton has a theme park kind of hidden in East Tennessee. Um, and on the other side of that, Dolly and Dollywood, I think, has a really large and loyal fan base. And so I feel like there are those who are going to want to soak up anything and everything that they can get their hands on about either Dolly herself as a person and an entertainer or about the park. So I tried to pepper a bunch of fun facts about Dolly, little trivia bits, so that hopefully even her biggest fans can find something in there that they don't already know.
Yeah, so, Erin, what would you say are some of the most practical must know tips for families visiting Dollywood for the first time?
So I think it's a good idea to make a loose itinerary before you arrive. You know, start with the things that have a set time, like the live shows, the parades, the fireworks shows, things like that, and then kind of work outwards from there. Decide where your main meals are going to be. Dollywood has awesome restaurants, both sit down and like grab and go snack stands. So kind of plan out where you're kind of wanting to eat so that you can kind of work your way around to that area of the park when it's getting close to that time. And definitely utilize the Dollywood app. It's really great for getting live wait times for the rides, whether a ride has gone down for maintenance or a show gets canceled or changed. Oh, and something new that they're doing now is that they've added mobile ordering for some of the food establishments. So you can order your food in advance and then go pick it up, which is really convenient. They've never had that before. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned that you've written another Dollywood book, the cookbook.
Hmm.
So that's two Dollywood books.
Yeah.
Share with us why you enjoy writing books about Dollywood.
So I just think it's a really special place. In some ways, it doesn't really even feel like a typical theme park. You know, it's more laid back and cozy. And despite just this explosive growth that it's had over recent years, it's still really easy to go there and do pretty much everything that you want to do without too much stress. So it's become a really great place for us, and we visit there often. We try to go there at least once during each festival throughout the year. And you know, we live in Knoxville, which is practically next door, so it's easy to wake up on a Sunday morning and be like, "Hey, let's go to Dollywood today." And it's easy to do that. And so I enjoy writing books to share the park with other people and hopefully both encourage people to visit and to help them learn more about it ahead of their trips.
Yeah, Erin, I agree with you that compared to other theme parks, it really is a much more, relaxed type of atmosphere. You don't feel like rushed to have to do anything. You don't feel that nickel and dime feeling that you see
Yeah.
at, some other theme parks and that. But while you were writing the ultimate guide to Dollywood, was there any particular memorable or surprising moments you encountered, maybe while you were visiting the park that, oh yeah, I got to put that in the book?
So, visiting the park while I was writing the book, I noticed that it made my visits more meaningful. So, before when visiting Dollywood, you know, my experience was more surface level, I guess, and just what was obvious and visible to me. But so, I guess I'm answering your question in kind of a backwards way because you asked me, you know, what I saw that I wanted to put into the book. But what really struck me was that going to the park after writing the book, now I can go there and be like, oh, well, now I know the history behind this name, or you know, this came about because of this event in Dolly's life, or this was inspired by a song that she wrote, or this is what she was thinking when she designed this thing. So it's really made it a lot more fun.
So Aaron, you mentioned the must-do attraction for you and your family, and it seems like it's a lot of nostalgia and tradition built in is the little cars. But do you have a favorite roller coaster? Do you like the thrill rides?
Yeah, I don't even know if this counts as a roller coaster because I'm not a huge roller coaster person. I have the worst equilibrium on the planet. So I kind of have to do my roller coaster riding at the end of the day if I don't want to be just like having to sit down for the rest of the day. But I love Blazing Fury. I don't even know if that you can, I guess that's more of a dark ride than a
That's
coaster.
totally a
But
coaster. You're
yeah, okay,
100% correct.
cool.
Totally.
You're 100% correct.
Cool, cool. So yeah, Blazing Fury is just so nostalgic. I love that they still use like old school animatronics in there. I love the little story. I basically, have the audio that plays memorized. I just play it in my head every time we ride. But yeah, even without the water and without the splash at the end that they removed a little while ago, yeah, I love Blazing Fury.
One of my favorites too. So let's talk about Dolly a little bit. What's your favorite Dolly song or maybe movie?
Yeah, so when I was growing up, my biggest connection to Dolly was her movie Still Magnolias. I loved
Yes.
that movie. I watched it over and over and over. Dolly plays a hairdresser named Truvy in a little Louisiana town. But something funny about that is that movie introduced me to the name Shelby, which is the name of the main character. And so the whole time I was growing up, I always just loved that name, and I always said if I ever had a little girl of my own, that I would name her Shelby. And now I have a 7 year old little girl named Shelby. So it's funny now, getting into Dolly and Dollywood so much that I still kind of have this like awkward connection to her through the Shelby character in one of Dolly's movies.
Yeah, I enjoyed that movie.
Yeah, it's great. I still cry every time.
Yeah, Dolly does have like a ton of good movies. So what's your favorite Dolly song, just for the sake of conversation?
My favorite Dolly song, probably "I Will Always Love You." I feel like she doesn't get enough credit for writing that song because everybody thinks of the Whitney Houston version. But yeah, I love that song.
Yeah, I didn't know she wrote that until like 20. I mean, I remember when The Bodyguard came out and it was like
Hmm.
I assumed it was just a Whitney Houston song, but
Right?
she's got a hand in writing like a bunch of stuff around the industry that people just have no knowledge about. For the
Oh
record, I
yeah.
think my favorite is Coat of Many Colors. Don,
Oh
what's your
yeah.
favorite? What's your favorite Dolly song?
But Coat of Many
Is
Colors.
it okay? Cool. At least we win that.
Yeah, because I remember, when I was a young, growing up, I mean, country music was often, what my mom and dad had on the radio and that in the kitchen, and that song would come on, quite often. So it kind of, resonates with me and connects me to Dolly because that was my first, I guess, introduction to who she was.
Hmm. Yeah, it's I love that song. I love the topiary that they do during the spring festival for
Oh
her
yeah.
mother making the coat of many colors. That's my favorite. They have so many cool topiaries there, but that one's my favorite. But Aaron, let me ask you this: so whether it's current or not, what's your favorite show that you've seen at Dollywood?
My favorite show. Hmm. Probably the Gazillion Bubbles show in
Really?
the Celebrity Theater. Yes, I love that. Probably because of how my kids reacted to it. But yeah, it when that one is there during the summer festival, we love it.
Wow. Yeah, we've got at our home park of Kings Island. They had the Gazillion Bubble show too. I think it was a different person doing it, but that went over really well, and the kids freaked out over it. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. I would say for me, it's probably the what was it the name of the drive-in show that they had for years? Was it
Oh right.
Starlight
Dreamland,
Drive-In?
Dreamland.
Dreamland Drive-In. Yeah,
Yep.
I thought.
Dreamland,
Yeah,
yes.
I saw that several times. I thought that was so. First of all, I thought it was cool that it was almost an hour long. And I thought it
Yeah.
was so neat how they told a story with it. It was like a jukebox musical kind of thing. I thought that was fun. What about you, Don?
Ryan, I like that show. Some of the more traditional shows, I've always enjoyed the country shows that they've had at Dollywood.
Hmm.
So always make sure to check that out. The last couple of years, they've had the different ones that are, touching on the life of Dolly. I've liked those. The one they had this year was I thought fantastic. So um, there's really not one that that I saw at Dollywood that I didn't enjoy. And as you get into the holiday season, they always had really nice shows, all over the park too. During the Christmas season. So there's not a bad show in the park. I mean, it's hard to pick just one, but Kingdom Hearts, I love them. I
Oh
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
they were great.
yeah,
I also have a soft spot for the Heart Song Theater. I love that
Hearts on
theater.
Theater, yes.
Yeah, I love that show that they have there. That's kind of the multimedia sensory with the smells and things. It's very like that's
Hmm.
also a very nostalgic. I like the stuff that's kind of been there a long time that hasn't changed much. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, but it's just just fun. I mean, you just walk around, and then there's the theater down by the train, and they've got the banjo and different the different band there. That's just fun to sit in and just listen for a while.
Mhm. Mhm.
absolutely. Um, so we're talking about your book and the different things that you've discovered, but is there one like totally interesting fact that sticks out to you that you learned that you came across? Because you mentioned like as researching, you found like, oh, they named this ride after something that Dolly did, or uh, the name of the church. What like a fun fact, what I know is the name of the church is the doctor that gave birth to her.
Mhm.
Is there
Yeah.
anything like that that comes to mind that you saw and thought was super interesting?
Well, so adjacent to what you just said there, the doctor that gave birth to her, her family actually paid him a bag of cornmeal, and that was how much it cost for his services for helping Dolly into this world. So I thought that that was pretty funny. Um, Another name reference that I didn't know that this ride had any kind of importance, was Daredevil Falls. Uh, Dolly said that her brothers used to sneak off to this dangerous, forbidden swimming hole, and they would, jump off of this thing into this water, and so she called them daredevils. And that ride, that's kind of that deal, is you're going up in this log flume thing and then going over the edge. And so I didn't know that that ride had a personal connection to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, Erin, Wildwood Grove just won the golden ticket again for the best kids area in the world at the Amusement Today
Awesome.
awards that they had in Kennywood. Um, what is it about the kids area there that you think makes it so special and award winning?
In Wildwood Grove, the Hidden Hollow indoor play area, I've spent so many hours sitting inside of that place while my kids played. It was such an awesome and needed addition to Dollywood. It's inside, so you're either out of the heat or the rain or the cold. And they have different age levels in there. Like there's a little toddler area, and then they have like the more adventurous stuff for the older kids. And there's lots of really cushy seating around the edges with places to charge your phone and stuff. And yeah, it's just awesome when kids get tired when you're trying to get through an entire day at a theme park outside, walking hours and hours on end. And so it's just amazing there. It's really dark and dim, so it feels very cozy. There's lots of ambiance in there and different like dancing colored lights. And yeah, big fan of that.
So, Dollywood has very cyclical festivals now between the I Will Always Love You, the spring, summer fair, and so on. What's your favorite festival?
Oh, it's hard to choose between the Harvest Festival and the Christmas Festival, but I think probably the Harvest Festival kind of inches out a little bit. I just love the way the park looks during that time of year. Halloween is my favorite holiday. I just think it's so fun, and what Dollywood does is just completely adorable. With I think this time they're saying there's going to be over 12,000 lit jack o' lanterns in Dollywood, and they have like these adorable gigantic sculptures and owls and bats, and it's so much fun to walk through there at night. They call it the Pumpkin Luminites is their jack-o'-lantern display. But I love it because it takes Halloween. It's like cute and fun Halloween and not like scary Halloween. But yeah, the Harvest Festival is great. I think it's got the best food out of all the festivals as well.
Yeah, Harvest Festival, that's my favorite event that Dollywood does. But you mentioned food, so we got to talk about that. What's your favorite, place to eat at Dollywood? Maybe favorite, menu option? Like for me, the meatloaf at Granny's, hard to beat that.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, so my favorite place to like grab an easy lunch is Hickory House Barbecue. I love their pulled pork. It's delicious. And they've got really easy kids meals there too, so it's easy to feed all of us all at once. But I like it because of where it is. It's in Craftsman Valley, which is my favorite part of the park. And I like getting lunch there and kind of going right across the little creek there, and you're right next to the Eagle Sanctuary. And there's picnic tables there.
Hmm.
So it's cool to sit there and have lunch, and you can kind of look up and watch the Eagles right above you.
Yeah, that's another underrated thing too, is the Eagles. I mean, I've done the same thing that you're talking about, where for me it was grab some cinnamon bread and go sit down
Yeah,
and just watch the Eagles. But I mean, just little things like that, little touches is what really makes Dollywood a special place.
totally agree.
So let's talk about your book. So as of this recording, it's not out yet, but it's coming out soon.
Yes.
Where can we find your book?
So online, it's basically available wherever books are sold: Amazon, Target, Barnes and Noble. It will be available in a limited number of brick and mortar places. I know Target, Walmart, Sam's Club, and maybe Barnes and Noble. But yeah, basically anywhere online you can get it.
Yeah, so we're looking for The Ultimate Guide to Dollywood by Erin Browne with an E, Browne. We also will have a link in the description where you can pre-order through the link, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, you
Yeah,
can
pre-orders are
pre-order.
open now.
Yeah, pre-orders are open now,
Yeah,
so you can be as much of a Dollywood aficionado as Erin is. Cool,
it's
awesome.
a fantastic book. I was able to receive a copy before the interview here with Erin, and again, 240 pages, just so much insightful information. And it's certainly, no matter how often you've gone to Dollywood, I mean, this book is still going to help enhance your visits.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Awesome. Well, Aaron, we really appreciate you being on the show. Again, there's a link in the description for where to pre-order, and then there's all sorts of really cool information. Don's already received an advance copy. I didn't get one for some reason. I feel a little left out. I guess I'll just buy it through the link. But really cool information. Dollywood's a really fun park, complex in terms of its entertainment, its rides, its shows, its food, uh, with a fantastic history. So I'm sure that there's much to be said about Dollywood and all that it has to offer. But Erin, thank you so much. We'll see you when you do your third book, when Dollywood
Yes,
adds a new
let's do
area,
it.
and we have to do the revised edition of the Ultimate Guide to Dollywood.
Oh yeah, and that's probably going to be due soon with how fast they change things. So
Awesome.
we'll see
Hey,
what they've added next year.
well, before you go, you mentioned that you blog. Where can they find your blog?
So my blog is called Brownie Bites, and you can find it at browniebites.net, or I'm on social media, mostly Instagram, but I'm on TikTok too, and that's at Brownie Bites.
Brownie Bites. All
Hmm.
right. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Aaron. Stick around. We got the Pick Six coming up next.